Hello, fellow music educators and flutists. I'm Yamaha performing artist and clinician Tracy Harris, the band flutist, and I am here with my very dear friends, Flute Boot Chops. He's gotten dressed up because we're going to be talking about breathing and having good breath technique. When it comes to the flute, it's essential because we lose about 1/3 of every breath that we use because we have to split an airstream. We're not blowing against a reed or a mouthpiece. So we just are blowing, and I affectionately call it air vomit. It just goes. We lose a good 1/3 of every breath. So we have to have the largest lung capacity of all wind and brass instruments. That right, you heard me right. Largest lung capacity of all wind and brass instruments. And remember, lung capacity has to do with height. It's not about how big a person is or how skinny a person is. It's about how tall they are. If you're shorter, you're going to have smaller lungs than someone who is tall. They're going to have much bigger lung capacity. So us short people, like me, we have to work extra hard to have that big lung capacity. So I'm going to talk to you today about a couple tips that I have found works with all kinds of young flutists, and it resonates with them because it's something easy to remember, and here it is. It's in when it's out when it's in. And what I mean is, when I breathe in, my gut goes out. When I breathe out, my gut goes in. In when it's out when it's in. I find this really works with young flute players because when they go home and they're breathing in and their stomach's going in, or they're breathing out and their stomach's going out, which a lot of them you'll see doing, they know it's wrong instantly. It just quickly resonates with them. The next thing you need to show a young flutist is to make sure when they do take that breath, the tongue is on the floor of their mouth. So I always have a young flutist say, ha, backwards. So every time they take a breath, right? Now I'm making noise so you can hear me doing it, but you want a silent ha, right? The quieter the breath, the bigger the breath. That brings me to the next thing, the jaw. If you have time, you want to drop the jaw. I call it a 2-fingered or a 3-fingered breath, right? It's really shocking how many young flutists, they don't even open their mouths when they take a breath. You have to open your mouth to take a breath, but they're afraid to, and here's why. They're afraid to take a big breath because they're afraid of breaking their embouchure. And what they don't understand is no matter what, the minute they have to take in a breath, they're going to break their embouchure anyway. They're just worried, oh, I've got a sound going. I don't want to stop now. I'll suck in through my nose or barely do anything. You have to teach them, no. You got to drop your jaw. You got to open your mouth, take a really big breath. You have to quickly learn to reset your embouchure. That's something that young flutists have a hard time with. So explain to them why that is, why they don't want to open their mouths. And then have them test 2-finger breath, 3-finger breath, right? It feels really extreme to them at first. And 3-finger breath is extreme. And I normally don't do that either, but I do around it too when I take a breath. And another quick tip, always have them, when there's time, exhale first before they inhale. You get a much bigger inhalation if you have a really good exhalation first. So right when the piece is starting, they should be out and then in, right, with the conductor. It really helps. It gives them a much bigger breath. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to young flutists is the topic of hyperventilation. You want to make sure that you explain to them what over-oxygenation of the blood is, and that when they take these super deep breaths at first, they might feel tingling in the fingers, tingling in the mouth, they might feel really dizzy, all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure when you're teaching them proper breathing technique, they are sitting, they're not near any sharp objects or hard surfaces, so that if they do feel a little bit faint, they're not going to hurt and fall and injure themselves. Hyperventilation can be very scary to a young flutist. I've seen complete panic in young flutists before. I've done hundreds of clinics, and it's really, I feel so bad for them. You have to explain it to them so they understand it. And let them know it's going to go away in 2 to 3 weeks. It will. So those are my quick tips for giving your all when it comes to teaching young flutists proper breathing technique. Remember, if you don't have that, you've really got nothing. You'll have a much better section. They will project better. They will have better intonation, better dynamics, much bigger fortes. So my next video is going to be about hand position. I want you all to have a very fluty day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.